What is going on, FA Nation? Justin Fensterman back with you with episode 4 of Fantasy Football ADP TV here on fantasyalarm.com. Let's talk about some average draft position standouts. Got a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end to discuss. We'll talk about where they stand when it comes to average draft position on the FFPC. Let's take a look at these players. Some that I'm thinking are going to rise, and others that I'm thinking are going to fall throughout the remainder of fantasy football draft season. First, for players on the rise, I'm looking at Geno Smith at 93. If you thought Smith would finish as a top 5 fantasy football quarterback prior to the start of last season, go play the lottery right now. Seattle is known for their ground and pound attack under Pete Carroll, but Smith was one of 4 quarterbacks to throw at least 30 touchdown passes in 2022. He was the most accurate passer of quarterbacks who played at least 10 games, completing nearly 70% of his throws. He threw the ball 572 times, and Seattle just added 2 more pass-catching weapons in the draft, Jackson Smith-Njigba and Zach Charbonnet. And even though in a previous episode of ADP TV I was out on Smith-Njigba, it was because of where he was going in drafts. In this situation, we're talking about the bigger picture and can't ignore that Smith has plenty of targets in this offense to throw to. The Seahawks saw enough to invest a lot of money in Smith, and with Smith being drafted just inside the top 100, I'm willing to invest an 8th or 9th round pick in him. Another player whose ADP I'm expecting to rise throughout the rest of draft season, Joe Mixon. With Mixon's contract situation settled and now in the clear, his draft stock is bound to rise, especially with the uncertainty of other running back statuses at this time heading into the season. Uncertainty increases paranoia in fantasy football. Right now, the FFPC has Mixon going as a late 4th round, early 5th round fantasy football draft pick. The Bengals beefed up their offensive line by signing Orlando Brown Jr. Samaje Perine is now in Denver, which also helps Mixon's draft stock. He received over 200 carries despite missing a few games. Mixon has missed more than 3 games once in 6 years. He averaged just 3.9 yards per carry last season, but with the offensive line improved, that should rise. On the receiving end, he received the most targets he's ever had and caught 60 passes in 2022. He took a pay cut to remain with the Bengals and eyes a potential Super Bowl run, and in order to stay with this contender longer than this season, along with earning millions in contract incentives, he'll have to show improvement, especially on the ground. Now for a few players that I feel like will be trending down throughout the rest of July and August. Let's start with Chris Godwin, going at 67. The 6th round is a good area to take risks in fantasy football drafts, and we know how skilled Godwin is. He's produced multiple seasons exceeding 1,000 yards receiving, but he only caught 3 touchdown passes with Tom Brady chucking him the rock last year, and we have to question the Buccaneers' current QB options in Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. Mayfield split time between the Panthers and Rams in 2022. Between the two teams, Mayfield recorded over 200 yards passing in just 4 of 12 games. His best season throwing the football was arguably his rookie year back in 2018. Their other option at quarterback, Kyle Trask, barely has any experience, and with the uncertainty at the QB position and the highly questionable accuracy of Mayfield, it's easier waiting an extra couple of rounds to invest in this team and target Mike Evans rather than taking a flyer on Godwin in the middle of the 6th round. Plus, whoever's throwing the football won't have great protection in front of them and will likely be on the run a lot trying to escape tacklers. Not a good situation for Godwin at this point. Another player who I'm feeling like is going to trend down a little bit, Kyle Pitts, sitting at around 53. The health issues aren't entirely what scares me off of Pitts. Like Godwin, it's the quarterback throwing him the ball and not seeing Desmond Ridder play with him on the field last season. By the time Ridder was starting towards the end of the 2022 season, Pitts was out with a knee injury. While Ridder did show a bit of positivity in his accuracy in weeks 16 and 17, along with throwing 2 touchdown passes in week 18, it's not enough of a sample size to me to invest a late 4th early round pick in Pitts. Other tight ends being drafted after him are more trustworthy. Plus, Atlanta threw the ball the 2nd fewest amount of times in the league last year while running the ball more than any other team. They signed Mac Hollins in the offseason and drafted Bijan Robinson, who can also be effective in the passing attack. Let's not forget about Cordero Patterson either and his pass-catching ability despite being used mainly as a running back last season. How good will Ridder be? How many passing targets per game will there be to go around? Yes, Pitts had over 1,000 yards receiving his rookie year with over 100 targets, but he got into the end zone once. Last season, he scored 2 touchdowns and recorded more than 3 receptions in just 2 of 10 games. It's a bit risky. And that, FA Nation, is another episode of Fantasy Football ADP TV, looking at average draft position on the FFPC. If you click the link above, you can go to the FFPC and take advantage of this amazing promotion where new users get $25 off their first FFPC entry of $35 or more when they register using promo code ALARM. Again, that's promo code ALARM, ALARM. Good luck with your drafts, and let's keep it rocking.